Hello, Barbieri third graders. My name is Jack Lewis, and your teachers have invited me here today to talk to you about my job as a state representative. But before I was a state representative, and long after I'm no longer a state representative, my primary job will be as a dad, and a dad to one of your classmates, Raphael Lewis. Hey, Raphael, good to see you. So, state representative. It's okay if you have no idea what a state representative does. I'm still learning exactly what my job is all about as well. But I think the most important responsibility I have as a state representative is to vote on the laws for the state of Massachusetts, the laws, the rules. So every 2 years, I go to the voters, I go and ask your parents to elect me, to pick me to go to Boston to vote on their behalf on laws ranging from how many hours you need to be in school, to what you learn in school, to what taxes your parents might pay, and really everything in between. I have been a state representative now for 5 years. Every 2 years, I have to run again. So every 2 years, I go knock on doors and ask people like your parents if they will give me another opportunity to go to Boston, where we vote, to elect me again as their state representative. I know one of you asked how many laws there are in Massachusetts, and I'll be honest, I do not know, other than to say there are more laws than any of you have ever heard of, and more laws than even I have ever thought of. Every 2 years in Massachusetts, my colleagues and I, the other state representatives and state senators, we all propose, we all put together new laws that we want to pass, and every 2 years, there are about 6,000 to 8,000 potential new laws that aren't yet laws, but laws that we want to become laws. So if you could imagine, if every year there's that many thousands of laws that we try to pass, and we've been around for hundreds of years, there are a lot of laws here in Massachusetts. I know one of you asked what my typical day looks like. Every single day is different. Kind of like with you all in school, you might be in school from 8 in the morning till 3:30 in the afternoon, but after school, your day might look very different. Mondays, you might have soccer practice. Tuesdays, you might have play practice. Thursdays, you might have hockey. For me and my job, there are a couple things that are always on the calendar, but most of my days are very, very different. I get up early, and the first thing I do when I wake up is I grab my phone, and before getting out of bed, before even getting my cup of coffee, I go into my work email, and I see if anyone has emailed me while I was sleeping that needs help right away. In addition to voting on new laws, a big part of my job is helping people who are having maybe a difficult time. If somebody has lost their job and they're looking for some help from the state, if someone is unable to pay their rent, if somebody has had their power go out in their house, sometimes people don't know who to call, so they call me or email me. And so a lot of my day is spent helping connect people with people and things that can help them, be it making sure that their electricity gets turned on, or making sure that someone gets a little help with paying their rent. So my day starts very, very early. I try to get as many emails in before my kids wake up, and I get them to school. I often walk Raphael to the bus stop, and as soon as his bus takes him away, I either run to my car and drive to a meeting, or I run to my house and I sit right here in my dining room and start emailing people to try to help them out. I also have a lot of meetings. Sometimes there's people in the community that want to talk to me. So they invite me to meet with a group of people uh, that are concerned about a specific issue. For example, there's a group of people trying to get a dog park in Framingham, which I think, if it happens, is going to actually be very close to Barbieri. But so that group of people might want to meet with me to learn more about how they can raise money for the dog park. There might be parents who want to meet with me to talk about the MCAS tests that you'll be learning about later today, or later this school year. So my day starts very, very early, and often the last thing I do before I go to bed is I check my email one last time to make sure no one's having an emergency, and then I put my phone down and fall asleep. But there is no typical workday. Some days I drive into Boston to vote. Some days I literally sit here at the desk for 10 hours and respond to emails and make phone calls to try to help people who need a little extra help. I know one of you asked what made me want to run for state representative. Great question. It's a job where you get to help people on a very regular basis. And so I thought, that would be something I'd love to do. And so I asked the community, I asked your parents and other people, maybe even your teachers, if I knocked on their doors for the opportunity to represent Framingham and Ashland, because at the end of the day, I want to do everything I can to help our families and our schools, and it's probably the most rewarding part of this job. So while I don't exactly know how many laws there are in Massachusetts, I know there's a lot, but I do know how many people are born in Massachusetts every year, and it is about 70,000. So 70,000, which is a lot of people. One way to think about it is that every year, the number of people that live in Framingham, that number, which is around 70,000, every year in Massachusetts, that number of people is born here in Massachusetts. One of you asked how long I can be a state representative for. Great question. So my term, the length of time that I am a state representative, is 2 years. So every 2 years, I need to go back to the voters and ask for their support to vote for me again so I can serve another 2 years. So far, I have served as a state representative for 5 years, but there is no limit on the number of years I can serve. The only limits are the ones set by your parents. So if the people in Framingham and Ashland decide that they don't want me to be their state rep any longer, then next year a new person will be elected and I will have only served 6 years. If the people in Framingham and Ashland decide I'm doing a good job, then they'll vote for me again, and they can vote for me as many years as they want, and I can run for as many times as I want. One of you asked about how many hours a day I work. As I think I said in the previous video, I don't have a traditional day that begins at 9 a.m. and ends at 5 p.m. Like maybe some of your parents have a concrete day, nor is my day exactly like what you have in school. I probably work somewhere between 8 and 12 hours a day, depending on the day. But there are days where I try to take the day off and I do something fun with my family. But even then, I always have my phone with me. So if something comes up, if there's an emergency, I can get to work. I also try to take vacations with my kids. But as Raphael can tell you, I always take my computer with me, and it doesn't matter where we are in the world or in the United States. When he goes to bed at night, I keep working. I love my job, and there's always so much more to do. One of you asked if I grew up in Framingham. The answer is no. Like many of you, I grew up somewhere else, and my family decided to move to Framingham. I actually grew up in a small town in Ohio, about 12 hours west of Massachusetts. And then for college, I moved to Utah. And then for graduate school, I moved to St. Louis, Missouri. And then after that, I moved back in with my parents in Ohio until I found my first job out of graduate school in Massachusetts. And a couple of years later, we bought our first home right here in Framingham. How do I become a state representative? First, these are all really great questions, and I'm so excited that you took the time to ask them. So I get to become state representative when people vote for me. And so every 2 years, people get to go to the polling place in addition to voting for president and governor and senator. Somewhere at the bottom of that ballot, sometimes on the back of the ballot, there's a section that says state representative of the general court, and my name is listed there, and I have to get more people to fill in my bubble than to fill in the bubble of the other great folks who are also running. And so 5 years ago, more people filled in my little bubble. It was very close. I won that first election by 56 votes. Actually, I misspoke. More votes than that. 64 votes, which might seem like a lot. 64, that's like 3 of your classrooms in the 3rd grade there at Barbieri. But when thousands and thousands of people vote, that was actually a very close election. They haven't been that close since then, but yes, that was a nail biter. Ooh, what was the first change you made when you became a state representative? So one of the, again, great question. One of the things that I enjoyed doing before I was elected was making sure that young people, students, kids like yourselves, have all of the support that they need in order to be healthy and to be supported in their thoughts and in their explorations as they get older. And so the first thing I was actually able to do was to secure a couple extra, to secure a few more $1 million, a big number, but to make sure that the state spends an extra couple $1 million to make sure young people have the resources to make healthy choices and good choices. My favorite thing about being a state representative is that I get to work on so many different things. I get to vote on how our state spends money, which is very important. But I also get to meet with people who are struggling in their lives. And so every day I chat via email or in person with new people who I've never met before, which I enjoy. But I also get to vote on everything from your school day to the roads to something as fun as the state dinosaur, which maybe your class talked about last year. But one of the more enjoyable things that I'm working on is making sure that Massachusetts has a state dinosaur. And so last year we invited kids like yourselves and parents and teachers to vote between which of the 2 dinosaurs that have been found in Massachusetts should be our state dinosaur. And because of the 35,000 people that voted, the Podokesaurus holyokensis, a little dinosaur about the size of a huge chicken or maybe a really small turkey, was voted to be our state dinosaur. And so now I am working to make sure that it becomes official by asking my colleagues, the other state representatives and senators, to support us in making sure that this cute little dinosaur becomes our official state dinosaur. And this dinosaur is actually very special for a couple reasons, not least of which it was discovered by a paleontologist named Mignon Talbot. Maybe a tricky name to say, but Mignon Talbot, who is actually the first woman to discover, name, and describe a dinosaur. While today there are lots of women who are paleontologists, people who study dinosaurs, 100 years ago, a lot of women were told, actually all women were told, that they weren't allowed to be paleontologists. It was a very different world, and we have made a lot of improvements since then. But Mignon Talbot out in western Massachusetts said, that's not fair. I discovered this dinosaur. I am going to study dinosaurs, and I'm going to name this dinosaur. And she did, the Podokesaurus holyokensis. And because of her willingness to push back against those who told her that she couldn't reach for and achieve her dreams, lots of other women in science have followed her lead. And now it doesn't matter what your gender is. If you're interested in a job, you can pursue that job. And it's really because of people like Mignon Talbot who fought those hard fights 100 plus years ago. I think we're coming down to the last questions you sent me. How long does it take to get permission to build things? Great question. It depends on how much the thing costs and how needed it is. So for example, Mass Bay, which has a big presence here in Framingham, is going to be building and opening a new campus, a new building for their science departments. And that has been 5, 6, 10, many years in the making to secure the funds and then to make sure that it is properly funded. Another example, none of you, I think, will be going to Fuller Middle School, but there's a new Fuller Middle School. I think all of you will go into Walsh probably here in Framingham. But for some of your neighbors who go to, let's say, King Elementary, they'll go to Fuller Middle School. And the old Fuller Middle School was, well, exactly that, very, very old. Some of your parents may have went there when they were kids. Some of your grandparents, actually, in some cases, may have went there. So that was something that we were trying to build a new school. And that took more than 5 years of making sure that we could get the money from the state, making sure that the people in Framingham were interested in helping to fund it. And that all came together. And some of you may have saw that we unveiled the new Fuller Middle School. There was a ribbon cutting a couple weeks ago. And now some of your neighbors may go to school there. Looking over your questions, I think that is all that you sent me. But again, I am so excited that you're learning about state government. If you have any other questions, feel free to share them with your teacher. I'm happy to record a new video. I'm happy to send in some questions. And I'll probably see you all around when maybe at the Barbieri play later this spring, or some other function where we'll have a chance to meet. But if government interests any of you in any way, when you're older in like high school, if I'm still around, feel free to be in touch with me. I always like to work with students to come and actually work in my office as interns, and happy to explore what it might mean for you all to think about being a state representative or somebody who works in government when you're older. Thank you so much again. Have a great day.